Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kurt, and welcome back to Farlands or Bust, episode 257. Let's get on out of the hidey hole onto the jittery ice, Look at those jitters, look at them. We've got a bunch of pigs hanging out. Let's secure the hidey hole from the previous episode. Grab Wolfie. Hey, grab Wolfie and continue. Oh, that's east. This way is west. This hidey hole was facing the wrong direction. But yes, we're continuing on. Like I said, this is episode 257. We have raised so far this season $32,533.50 for Child's Play charity over at farlandsorbust.com. You can check that out. There's the official Child's Play charity widget right there on the home page where you can track our progress. Hello, Creeper. Would you like to track our progress? You can track the progress. You can donate any amount you would like yourself. It goes through a PayPal system. You don't necessarily need a PayPal account. You can use a credit card of any description. And then with your donation, you can, if you'd like, leave a message and leave a question that I will try my best to answer in an episode of Farlands or Bust. I've been doing that quite a lot the last dozen episodes or so, and I really do appreciate all the support. It's a great cause, getting toys, books, games to children's hospitals around the world, started by the folks at Penny Arcade, the Penny Arcade Empire, I guess you could call it. Of course, also behind PAX, which I will be attending this year, the end of August in Seattle. So everything's coming full circle. Everything's coming up, Millhouse. So yeah, indeed. I did mention, as we started, the increased jitteriness. You noticed this. I'm sorry, people before complained about it, that it was making them ill, or perhaps they just couldn't stand watching it. It's side effect of getting so far out, man. So far out towards the Farlands, far away from your your spawn point on your Minecraft map. The math is starting to rip the world asunder. I think it's really interesting, and it's also the reason why the selection box, as you can see, is a whole near pixel off. 16, that's 16 pixels. I thought it was 32. But yeah, whole pixel off, stuff like that. There have been, if you want to look back at the last episode, episode 256, when I noticed there was a threshold we crossed where it was like, bam, suddenly it increased exponentially, the jitteriness. There's a whole field of comments with interesting math about bits and bytes and computations and rounding and stuff. I'm not the best at explaining that, so if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty, you can check out those comments on the last video. There were a lot of people who were calculating, and they feel that they may have discovered the exact distance from spawn that I've traveled. Of course, I will not be pressing F3. For those of you who don't know, pressing F3 gives you a little debug screen with your coordinates, your XY coordinates on the map. XYZ coordinates, I guess, technically. I only press F3 when we reach our Child's Play charity fundraiser goals, which this season is $100,000, and we're, like I said, almost at $33,000, so almost a third of the way there. So keep giving, and when we do reach 100,000, I will press F3, and we will either confirm or disprove any guesses and estimates we've had thus far. But some people feel that they've got the number down, at least where we crossed that kind of threshold where the jitteriness became much more difficult. And actually, some of those comments actually helped me out to understand the floating point rounding error. It seems that with those coordinates, there's a set number of, what's the word I'm looking for? Integers. And then every time, like say when you go to 100,000, or I'm sorry, when you go from 999,999 to 1,000,000, the decimal point moves one place over. Instead of the number becoming one decimal, or I'm sorry, instead of the number becoming one integer larger because there's a fixed number of integers, the decimal place actually moves 1 point over, therefore you lose a power of 10 in your accuracy of your location. So that, my friends, is the floating point precision error, which is why theoretically the bounding box would almost seem to increase in inaccuracy by a power of 10, which might have happened here. So it's not quite as gradual as I thought it was. It isn't, however, so I can't say that, oh, that was 1,000,000 blocks. That was my original guess. Like, oh, I passed 1,000,000 blocks from spawn. It can't be that because it isn't Minecraft, and I guess simply the way it handles numbers, calculates numbers. And this is the part where the bits and the bytes and the 16 and the 32 and the 8-bit numbers or whatever come into play. It's not a power of 10. It's much more oblique than that, I suppose, and that's where there are some pretty specific guesses as to where I passed, where that math would have happened, and I could believe those. The last time we did press F3 was at when we reached 699,492, so just about 700,000. So those guesses that are putting me over a little bit over 1,000,000 blocks from spawn are probably pretty accurate. I am no mathematician, so I can't confirm nor deny, but I will not know for sure. It's in the not knowing that I enjoy this journey and this game. The not knowing, which is why even away from the camera, I don't ever press F3. It's a surprise to me as well. I'm as interested in getting to the goal of Child's Play charity, of our Child's Play charity fundraiser, as you guys are. Indeed. I think it might be time for a boat. This place looks quite tropical. Tropical indeed. Blunk. Ooh. So, continuing on. I do have some news I wanted to mention, and somebody, thank you very much, reminded me, a donator reminded me, I think it was... crud. Was it J5276? Or that might have been where a different question came from. Sorry, but regardless, somebody reminded me, and I also saw that, yes, even though we're still waiting for the confirmation on the dates and location of Minecon 2013, it is going to be in the United States, probably the East Coast, it's sounding like. Some people might be a little bit... You know, we had it in Paris last year, so we had our European Minecon, but some people might be a little bit upset that they're located in Europe or the UK. A lot, you know, some of the Mindcrackers, some of your favorite YouTubers might be located in the UK and they can't attend this year's Minecon. There is an event coming up the weekend. It's actually the weekend before PAX, but there's an event coming up called the Insomnia Gaming Festival. And as part of that, as a subset of that event, it's called Minecraft Expo UK. And that is happening August 23rd through the 26th in Telford. Am I saying that correctly? It's not Telford, I'm assuming. That's the American way to say it. Telford, UK. And it seems to be confirmed that our Mindcrack friends Baj, Milby, and Pyro are planning to attend as special guests to the Minecraft Expo part of the Insomnia Gaming Festival. I will hopefully remember to put a link in the doobly-doo below where you can check that out, perhaps get more information on attending, and you can meet 3 out of the 20... How many of us are there? 25 Mindcrack members at that. So we're getting our bases covered. Across the pond. Multinational. Multi-dimensional. Multi-time zonal. Zonal. So check that out. Pretty cool stuff. Baj, Milby, and Pyro. Like I said, attending that. Among other, you can get the full list. There's a bunch of Minecraft personalities and YouTubers and stuff attending that as well. So cool beans. Cool beans indeed. The sun is setting. Let's, oh, I have all this cobblestone. Ooh, let's make an extra sturdy elevated hidey hole tonight out of cobble. Cobble, 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 cobble. What was it, the turkey? The way the turkey? What is that, a spoiler? I think there's a spoiler spawner over there, or else why would there be a spoiler? Whoops, there we go. There we go. Alright, let's have a little rest here, and I have a bunch of questions to get through. And we'll check out where that guy came from. Who sent you? Alright, let's go to sleep. And a spider's mysteriously appearing out of nowhereness. Right, Wolfie? Indeed. Alright, let's check this out. I'm going to assume it's a spawner. Wolfie should be safe. Spiders aren't that big of a threat, I don't think. Yeah, I think this is a spawner. On second thought, Wolfie, sit down. Wolfie, get over here so I can have you sit down. Out of the water, you noodle. Oh my gosh. Alright, fine. Suit yourself. Well, maybe it's not a spawner. That guy's angry. Alright, he's still coming after me. Thank you, Wolfie, for your assistance. Sit down. I need to investigate this. Oh, I think it was just a guy. Just a guy. It's alright, everybody. It was just a guy. Alright, I hear noises. Gotta go! It's really dark. In this version of the game, we're playing in Minecraft Beta 1.7.3. There's no slider for the brightness. You forget how, if you've been playing in the current versions of the game, and you usually probably have your slider set to something, you know, other than moody. You know, sometimes for YouTube, at least 50% when I'm recording on the Minecraft server. And when I'm playing ultra hardcore, it's at least 80%, so I can have a little bit of a distinct advantage to see something in the distance, but whew, this game was dark and scary at some point, wasn't it? So yeah, let's continue on. Let's answer some questions here. Speaking of ultra hardcore, from Metro gave a donation and asked this question: how come you stopped doing the previously? Did I already answer this question? Oh yeah, I answered this. Oops, forgot to delete a question that I answered last episode. I stopped doing the previously on Ultra Hard. Yeah, I answered this last episode. Metro got double mentioned. Let's go to a anonymous question. They asked, when you were a web designer, when I was, what was your favorite CSS selector, such as position, float, etc.? I had to think about this, because it's been a while. I used the display selector property, whatever, and that allowed you to make, you know, usually I would force something to be displayed block, so that way I could make like an inline element, like an A tag, a link tag. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I could turn a link tag into a what's the word I'm looking for? You know, a block element and turn it into like a button or something. Float was always, careful Wolfie, was always complicated, especially when I started doing web design, because Internet Explorer was still very big. It still is very big, but Internet Explorer has totally messed up your float properties. Only about like 3% of the people listening know what the hell I'm talking about. So yeah, I would have to go with the display, because I would use that a lot to turn links into fancy buttons with rollovers and, you know, sliding background images that made rollover effects and things like that. So yes, thank you for that very specific and very, you know, very specific and you know, a question that not many other people would have known to ask, or not that many people really know what the heck the answer was all about. But web design, woo! Yeah, I haven't, since stopping doing web design really, other than keeping up with farlandsorbust.com, I really haven't kept up with, I know HTML5 is a thing, and that really kind of blends in with the CSS, and there's all these new kind of properties and graphical things and rounded corner border radiuses and blah blah blah. I have not been keeping up with that, which is why I'm slightly concerned if this YouTube thing were to suddenly not be a legitimate source of income for me, I would not know what to do, because getting back into the web design field, I would be quite behind the curve, if you will, and I will. But yeah, thanks for the donation to the question, random person asking about HTML. Let's see, from Ted, are you signed with any content network? No, I'm not. I am just a straight-up YouTube partner. What do you think of them? There was actually recently a very good video. Hank, is it Hank? Yeah, Hank Green started another YouTube channel, Vid Thoughts, I believe, where he actually talks about the business of YouTube and how to start a YouTube channel, what the monetization is all about, what percentages are about, and he goes on to mention content networks. And I would have to echo what he said about them, is that they have to serve a purpose, and at this point in YouTube's history, we're all starting to wonder what purpose they're serving, because a content network, usually, and all, you know, especially now, back a little bit ago, you know, some of the guys, even on the Mindcrack server, I won't say who, you know, I'll leave them to talk about that, whether or not they want to talk about, but sometimes, early on, when a content network, sorry, we're talking about like your machinimas, your game stations, your full screen networks, your IGNs, those are networks that kind of, instead of being directly partnered through YouTube and Google AdSense, you're partnered through a network, and then they handle your ads and income. Hey guy, how's it going? Would you like to join a network? Or are you trying to sell me a network? No, I will not join Machinima. Be back, evil spawn! Sorry. This is probably a zombie spawner, I would assume. Unless I'm just... Have a seat! Have a seat! All of these... false... spawners. It's very strange. Anyway, back in the day when YouTube was, when I say back in the day, I mean like 2 years ago, was really ramping up and people were starting to see it as a legitimate form of income and advertising dollars. The networks were pretty desperate to sign members, so they would give them contracts that just gave them 100% of their ad revenue. Nowadays, they take between 20, 30, and even up to 40% of your AdSense income. So right now, as a vanilla, I guess you could call me, partner, YouTube or Google takes 45%. Like there's, you know, an advertiser pays to put an advertisement on YouTube. That's 100%. That's the total money that has exchanged hands from the advertiser to Google. YouTube. Google takes 45% of that, and then gives 55% to the content creator, you know, myself. When you're with a partner, that 55% that's left over is then taken, and the network then chops off, say, 30% of that, and then gives you the remaining 70% of that 55%. So you're actually taking, like, if I were to sign with a network now, I would be taking a pay cut, and I personally don't see what they are offering in return for that. It used to be thought that, especially with gaming, a lot of people would sign with your machinimas or your TGSs or whatever because they felt, oh, these guys have the hookups with the gaming companies, and this allows me to play more. You know, I don't have to be restricted to indie games and Minecraft. You know, this allows me to play more AAA titles because they have the copyright things and I won't get content ID. But it's actually, with this whole Nintendo thing that passed, it's come to light that they really don't. And in certain situations, people have asked their networks, oh, what about this Nintendo thing? You know, what if, or suddenly my Nintendo videos have gotten, you know, copyright flags on them. You know, what can you do about that? And the networks have come back and said, oh, we don't handle anything about copyright strikes. That's your business. And it's kind of like, whoa, what am I paying you 30 to 40% of my ad revenue for then? So there is kind of a question about what use there is. I mean, I suppose in some situations, you know, a lot of, say, the bigger vloggy channels might benefit from those because then they're given, like, say they live in LA, they're given studio space and access to high-end professional equipment, so it's all give or take. For me, myself, and I see no personal advantage to hand over, essentially pay a fee to be part of a network. I don't see what they offer in return. So that is my thought on networks and why I am not with one. You know, like many YouTubers... whoops, I keep doing that. It might be... Oh, it's the block selection thing, probably. Oh, God. I'm going to start placing blocks wrong. That's great. Oh, I love it. So yeah, that's me. That's my take on that situation. It's different for everybody, but I don't see the point. Let's go to sleep. I see the point of sleeping, so let's go to sleep. And awakeness. Whee! Spelunk. What else did they go to ask? Oh, how come you don't break your boats and sometimes you do? This question, I think I answered this question. Yeah, I think somebody else asked this question before. Oh, no, sorry. God, I looked back. There's something, Matt Rowe, there's something about your question that makes me keep looking back at it. Sorry, that was it. I was answering a question from Ted. Oh, yeah, his final question Ted asked was also, when will you return to the Mindcrack podcast? I don't know. They're kind of going through the list. There's a lot of people on the Mindcrack server, well, a few at least, who still have yet to be guests on the Mindcrack podcast, so I will step aside to allow them to, but eventually I'd like to go back on to doing that. I think since my first appearance, which was last year when I was kind of, I guess, plugging flob-athon weekend, and I made the announcement that if we doubled our Child's Play charity goal over flob-athon weekend, that I would attend Minecon Paris. I think since then, I've gotten a little bit more, what's the word I want to say, not loose, but just open, and a little bit more used to both the people, you know, who do the Mindcrack podcast. Obviously, I'm doing co-ops on a weekly basis with Vintage Beef, and so I think I would be a little bit more comfortable. I was a little bit nervous the first time. I know I shouldn't be, but that's just me. So, yeah, I would indeed look forward to, in the future, discussing stuff on the Mindcrack podcast. It turns out a lot of the stuff they talk about, I end up talking about in Farlands or Bust, like the Xbox thing and the Nintendo thing, you know, so this is kind of my own solo podcast. Solo podcast? It sounds like some sort of Star Wars thing. Solo podcast. Something Jabba the Hutt would say. Ituakita solo podcast. Terrible impression of Jabba the Hutt. I apologize. I have offended all you Star Wars nerds. Myself included. I have offended myself. Indeed. Let's look on towards another question. Woof. Yeah, I know, we're getting going. Sorry, I'm just looking down my questions. From a comment... Oh, I guess I should answer this. This is very topical. Little Moi asked, do you watch or have you read Game of Thrones? No and no. There's a big hubbub because there was apparently some magical, shocking episode of Game of Thrones, an HBO show based on the series of novels of the same name. And, you know... Ooh, excuse me. Something happened. I don't know. I can't give spoilers because I didn't watch, nor did I really keep up with that. But, you know what? First of all, I don't have HBO. I don't pay for premium channels. I don't download the episodes or anything like that. It's one of those things I never even heard of the books until the show started becoming popular. Ooh. Triple Lake. Having fun in the Triple Lake, Wolfie? I'm gonna go down instead of up, because I feel like that's going to end in a cliffside. Ooh, check this out. Keep on going, water. You could do it. You could do it. Woo! Oh, is it gonna go all the way? Ah, thought it was gonna go all the way to that little puddle, but it didn't. But it didn't. No, don't read, don't watch Game of Thrones. It's kind of the genre itself. I am not a fan of the whole medieval dragons and knights and armor and that sort of, just the genre itself. The only thing I could say I've ever really enjoyed similar to that is Lord of the Rings, but even that isn't, I wouldn't put that in the same category. That's definitely much further into the fictional, the much more fantasy fictional kind of realm. I don't know what it is about it, but I never got into any of the other HBO or Showtime series that came out that were recently. I feel like there was a recent explosion after the success of Lord of the Rings. Everybody was like, ooh, we have to find all the books that have similar themes and make movies and shows out of them, and cheese, apparently I was about to say. Lord of the Rings, Gouda cheese. Oh god, that cow scared me. I thought it was a creeper. So, not a fan. Not into the dragons. It might be the dragons. I don't know what it is, but there could be a storyline that's completely fake and sci-fi, but once there's a dragon, I'm just like, oh, all right. This is beyond the realm of what I can accept in a storyline. Even, I know the latest Lord of the Rings, sorry, it's not part of the Lord of the Rings, it's The Hobbit. I was kind of hoping that the dragon would have been like a metaphor for something, or some sort of thing from a wizard, and I was kind of a little bit like, it's an actual dragon? That's kind of annoying. Dragons are weird. I don't know. Dragons? No thanks. Oop. I'm an anti-Dragite, I suppose you could say. So yeah, nope and nope to that. Sorry, I don't have any thoughts to give on any goings-ons about that. Let's see here. Another question from a commenter. Have you ever had any paranormal experiences? This is from the Likeify. When I was little, I now chalk it up to simply my growing brain and a vast imagination, but I always had kind of nightmares that would then blend into real life. I swear at one point, I had a walk-in closet with a light, and the door was kind of cracked open. I swear at one point, while I was trying to fall asleep, the light turned on and off and on and off, which freaked me the heck out, but that was probably a dream. Did I tell the? I think I told the story about I had a remote control car that was getting old and it was starting to go. And I must have left the batteries in, but it was, on the floor in my room in the middle of the night. It all of a sudden started driving. Like the little servos on the wheels would go zzz, 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 and it would go forward and backward and bump into my bed. I flipped my lid, jumped out of my bed, ran screaming down the hallway, and I ran into my sister's room, which promptly, imagine my sister suddenly being awoken by her little brother screaming at the top of his lungs, running through her door. That was probably more frightening than my car turning on. But it turns out that car was just old, and the remote control and the servos, or whatever on-off switch it had going on, was not working anymore, and it was just turning on for no reason. That was less a paranormal experience than it was just a funny memory to look back on now. Remember that time I completely freaked you out, sister? But yeah, this or that or the other random things. I've come to grow up, and and I know there are people who are adamant about these sorts of things, and astrology, and the faked moon landings, and ghosts, and angels, and you know, aliens landing in the backwoods of Montana or whatever, I have taken a far more practical realism approach, scientific approach, and do not believe such things anymore. So everything as a kid that I would have said I could have experienced, I can now look back on and, okay, that was probably that, or okay, a lot of it came down to, I had a lot of that sleep paralysis. I know I've mentioned a couple times before, that's where you're sleeping, but then your eyes and your mind kind of wakes up, but your body is still in sleep mode, so you're actually like trapped. You feel like there's a gorilla sitting on your chest. It also could be related to like a panic attack or something like that, but I had those, and I always thought those were paranormal instances or you know, ghosts or something like that, nightmares. But I can relate it to that. So I could say yes, but I have since dismissed such things as figments of my imagination and all having very logical explanations, indeed, whatnot, and etc. Let's try to find a place to make the final hidey hole of the episode. I do have to mention, I am planning on... Ooh, not there. Paranormal experiences. I am planning on making a Mindcrack episode from the Mindcrack server. Expanding upon this a little bit more, but this actually is... I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break. A 1-week break from making... Oh, hi. You sit out there. From making new videos. The series that most impacts is obviously Farlands or Bust, because I make those on the day and upload them on the day. So next week, no Farlands or Bust. I do have scheduled videos going up and stuff like that, but I just... like I said, I'll be making a Mindcrack episode explaining my thought process. I just need a little bit of a break, kind of reevaluating some of my video making series and procedures. Nothing bad. There's nothing bad going on. I haven't had... Oop, I almost made a workbench. I haven't had, technically, a break. I haven't given myself a break. I know, poor Kurt, who has to record video game videos for a job, but I haven't had a break since Minecon Paris, and even that I wouldn't consider to be a break. That was I guess you could call work on and of itself. So I'm just going to take a week, just a week, and we'll be back after that week. Obviously, Mindcrack Ultra Hardcore continues to be scheduled every other day. Like I said, have a few other videos scheduled, but we'll take a break from Farlands or Bust. You can keep giving to Farlands or Bust, to the Child's Play charity fundraiser over at farlandsorbust.com. I hope to return in a week with episode 258 to see how much more we have raised for kids, to get toys, books, and games to kids in hospitals around the world. I do appreciate that. I appreciate your support. Keep those questions coming in with your donations or in the comments below, and we will have further things to talk about and further jitteriness to experience. Ooh, seizure-inducing seizures. But until then, thanks so much for watching. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time.